Fox News alert, the Justice Department just released the bombshell report that we've been waiting for. What actually happened on January 6th? The FBI had 26 confidential human sources there that day. 26. A confidential human source is a guy the FBI pays to spy for them. Of the 26 confidential human sources who were in D.C. on Jan 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol. So more than a dozen FBI spies participated in the so-called insurrection. A bunch of them broke into the Capitol. Their own inspector general says this is what happened. But that's not what they told you when they testified under oath.
Those who were there in an undercover capacity on January 6th, how many were there?
Again, I'm not sure that I can give you that number as I sit here. I'm not sure there were undercover agents on scene.
I thought I heard you say you didn't know whether there were FBI agents or informants or human sources in the Capitol or in the vicinity on January 6th. Did I misunderstand you? I thought that's what you said.
Well, I referred very specifically to undercover agents.
Yeah. And so are you acknowledging then there were undercover agents?
As I sit here right now, I do not believe there were undercover agents on scene.
The inspector was hiding something, so Congress asked the question a different way. Listen.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no. Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information.
Director Ray,
confidential human
gentleman's time.
Ray's right. The FBI didn't have undercover agents at January 6th. They had confidential human sources. So what's the difference? Well, a confidential human source doesn't get health insurance or a pension. They're just freelancing for the feds.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roman Nation 2025. I'm AK, your favorite guy, and does it feel good to be back? Now, I told you guys we're taking a hiatus in December to make us the #1 podcast network on X. Let me tell you, we weren't lying, because this year we're leading X wire to wire. So tonight, we start off this year of post-cancel culture with post-insurrection January 6th as Roman Nation starts now.
I'm hiding of you, so lonely. I'm hiding of you, so lonely.
What's going on, my man? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? How are you? My face all of a sudden got super big on the screen. I was like, oh my God, I'm like in 4K, really, really large. It's good to be with you both.
Absolutely, absolutely. Elizabeth, how you doing? She's our main host for Sunset Rants, coming to join us tonight. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I was just over here just vibing to the beat, yo. Roman makes the best beats, man. Yeah, I'm doing great. I hope you guys are ready for this amazing show we got ready for you. It's gonna blow your minds what we got to talk about today.
Oh, absolutely. So let's get this party started. But first, we've got a Discord where all the magic happens for Roman Nation. If you want to be a podcast host, producer, researcher, or writer for us, it's the only place where you can be a part of the fastest growing podcast community on X. The link is in the description. Also, check out our website, where Roman Nation is part of the Rise of Middle America Network, where you can see our most recent content, news, rants, and deep dives, as well as our up-and-coming events that you don't want to miss. Also, at the bottom of the page, there's a PayPal link where you can make a monetary contribution to help us push this post-cancel culture to the next level. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on X at @TheRealRoma_AK to help us make this the #1 podcast network on X. Without further ado, what do you guys want to talk about today?
Oh, I got a lot I want to get into. I mean, so I've done interviews with people that were arrested and convicted before, and I want to talk about the camera crews that people were around. I want to talk about what they saw that never got reported. I want to talk about the thousands of hours of footage that are likely out there from groups that were hired maybe by Nancy Pelosi and her son-in-law in order to do things, standing right alongside the QAnon shaman himself, Jake Chansley, as he walked in. That's right. It's right in the photos. You can find it. I want to get straight into the eyewitness testimony from both these gentlemen of things that they witnessed that no one else is allowed to hear.
Wow. It sounds like you're ready to go on a rant today.
I'm ready.
You ready? All right. So, without further ado, let's rant. All right. Well, let's rant because we've been gone a couple of weeks. There's a lot of stuff that's happened since then, but today is specifically about January 6th. That's right around the corner on Monday. So what better way to rant ourselves into an oblivion, hopefully, by having two special guests. And you guys probably have heard who they are. So let's go ahead and bring them up. Let's welcome up James Grant and Kash Lee Kelly. Let's go. Looky who we got here. How you guys doing?
What's going on, brother? I'm glad to be here with you. Thanks for having me.
What's up, Roma? It's good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So most people probably have heard of your names before, but I'd like to hear from the horse's mouth. So let's start with you, Kash. Who are you, bro?
Oh, I'm just a dad, living in America, trying to make his way in a Bidenomic world. No, man, I'm a J6er. I'm also the founder of Streetlights Unity Movement, 501c3 geared towards keeping kids away from gangs out the streets and just giving back to the community. Beyond that, I create content. I'm a social media influencer. I was probably one of the bigger social media influencers in 2020 before they deplatformed me and took all my stuff away from me. So I'm rebuilding, just came home from prison in February and loving life, loving God, loving my country.
Amen. Amen to that. All right. We also got James Grant in the house. How you doing, man?
What's going on? Yeah, I'm James Grant. I was right at the front next to Ray Epps. And, before January 6th, I actually had a TikTok account with like 29,000 followers. I lost that after, speaking out against illegal immigration, which is TikTok is super left. So, you really got to tread carefully there. So I was shadow banned on there. But before January 6th, I was a law student and I had a scholarship to go to the University of Alabama. I assume that's gone now because I just didn't show up. I just kind of, went to jail for January 6th instead. And like Kash, we went into the belly of the beast, I guess, in two ways. We served some really hard time, in DC and in prison, political prisoners. So yeah, just picking up the pieces for now, like Kash, but we're in uncharted waters, but it's great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I thank both of you guys for taking some time out of your day. I know some of you got some pretty busy lives. We've got kids, we've got all this other stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. But before then, Greg, you look like you're ready to jump in and ask some questions. What you got, bro?
I mean, so I want to start off with the journey to DC that day. What brought both of you guys, and you can jump over one another, just tell the story of why did you go first and foremost? Because as we're 2 years or multiple years now removed, not two, my God, it feels like two, not to you guys, but, but yeah. So now that we're beyond the time, people have forgotten, why did you guys show up, number one? And tell us a little bit about that day when you got there.
You want to go first, James?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, for me, obviously the election, number one. Number two, I was very angry being locked inside my house on lockdown during COVID. Couldn't go to church, couldn't go to work. You can't go outside. Kids can't go to school. Fall behind. E-learning sucks. And it infuriated me to see people being allowed to go out into the streets while we all on lockdown. We can't go out, and they basically having a riot party. You know what I'm saying? They out there taking over cities. You had CHOP taking over. The police was told, don't even go over there. Let them be. Don't even go within 6 blocks. Let them have it, right? And that was happening all over the country where you had places where the police just was told to stand down while we had to sit inside of our houses. And it infuriated me. So for me, going to January 6th wasn't just about the election. It was about making my grievances known to them and petitioning my government through protests, which all I wanted to do was just go to the Capitol and do a sit-in. And things just went crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I think Kash really touches on something, and I've talked about it on the Gateway Pundit, which is you can't view, and people make this mistake all the time, you can't view January 6th with a 2024 lens. You have to look at it in the context of watching every city in the country burn down. But that's okay. You know, you can't leave your house, only essential workers can, but it's okay for these protests where stores are being looted and half the country's burning down. So we have that going on. And then we watch the election get stolen. You know, we see in real time, we're watching live as the numbers are changing on TV. You know, we see them bringing out suitcases. And then, you know, so we go to sleep and Trump's winning in every state. And then batches, 4 a.m. So we watched this happen in slow motion. We waited, months for something to be done. Nothing was done. It felt like it was slipping away. And so many people showed up and the media lies about it. There was at least millions there. But, I was a political science major. I have the diploma over there, but I'm not going to mess up the camera angle I got going on right now. But no, the 2020 election was stolen. And that's the number one thing that's going to vindicate January 6th, because no police died that day, which is so important. So when it comes out that 4 protesters died, 0 police died, and the election was stolen, that's any criticizing of January 6th is based upon the fact that the 2020 election was free and fair. If that's not true, then January 6th becomes completely justified. So I pushed a fence that didn't touch anyone. What is that in comparison to stealing a presidential election in the United States of America? So, I think that applies to all January 6ers.
Let me ask you about the fence that you touched, because there were 2 things that I was reading your charges that were against you. The one, I feel like in a video that you just put out that I think AK is going to play, it really vindicates you on the charge that they gave that you were attacking the police officer. The other angle clearly shows you're trying to pull the other person off when you got sucker punched. Mm-hmm. But the other charge that was listed, there was a group of people that apparently were pushing this almost the security rack forward, and you were one of them on the picture. And it states that the police officer fell backwards, hit his head against a metal rail, and got concussed. Is that one of the charges that they got you on with a felony, or where's
So yeah, I had 13 charges. Thankfully, that was a female officer, and I was completely acquitted of that, found not guilty at trial. I was actually found not guilty of most charges at trial, but they still did get me for 1 count because I pushed the fence at the officer in front of me. But no, they tried to charge me. And what's even funnier is my original indictment didn't even have assault on it, because, pushing a fence that didn't touch anyone is not assault in any jurisdiction. They added, 13 by the time we were done. I was looking at 101 years and 6 months in prison when I went to trial. And, God was with me, and I was acquitted of most charges. I had a judge that I guess saw through some of it. But, they tried to charge me for an officer who was so far to the right. I didn't even know they existed, and you can't even see them on camera. But thankfully I had a judge that, and so much of this depends on your judge. Because I think another judge would have just said it doesn't matter. And that's why they upgraded my charge to assault, was because they looked and they said, hey, we're getting everything we asked for in these cases. What else can you give them? That's what they were doing. Enrique Tarrio got 22 years. He wasn't even there that day. Mm-hmm. Some of the things they've had as deadly weapons were this fence. I was convicted of assault with a deadly weapon for pushing a fence that didn't touch anyone. Some other things, that water bottles have been considered deadly weapons, not frozen, like regular water bottles. traffic cones, like a safety, it has safety in the word. Safety cones have been considered deadly weapons. So it's complete lawfare.
During the zombie
it was used
apocalypse,
against everyone.
Right.
during the zombie apocalypse, everything's a weapon. I've been taught that by The Walking Dead, though. So, so Kash and James, as this, talk about like the charges, I'm curious about what was the inciting action that caused the people to not just be standing there, but to be starting to push back against police. I've heard stories about tear gas being fired first. Wouldn't your recollection that day unfolded the pushback from people that were in the crowd?
Well, for me, I was in the West Terrace, right? And when I got there was no sign saying that we couldn't be there. There was no barricades. It was none of that. When I came on the lawn, we're all singing God Bless America. We're saying hey to each other. People wanted to take pictures, so I took pictures. And we're just standing there. The police come out in riot gear. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? They're on top at the top of the balcony. So they start aiming their little pew-pews, their pepper guns, and they start launching into the crowd, like just hitting everybody. And then they threw like a concussion grenade or a flashbang, I don't know, whatever it was. They started launching those into the crowd. So I got hit with a projectile, started yelling at the police. I'm like, yo, we supported y'all all 2020. What are y'all doing? When they were yelling to defund y'all, we was there standing up for you guys, saying, no, we got to protect the good cops, get rid of the bad cops, you know what I'm saying? But they showed themselves to be bad cops, whether by directive or because of their own personal beliefs. They chose to do what they did to their crowd that day, of women, of elderly, of children, of innocent people that were just there for protest, right? That didn't know that they weren't supposed to be there. And when you see that happening, people, obviously, especially a real man, is going to get angry when they see a woman getting assaulted. However that form comes, and whoever's doing it, a real man's going to stand up for him. And that's what happened. So, for me, it was that simple. The police came out and incited the crowd when I got there. I don't know if they incited the police before I got there, but I know that while I was there, nobody wasn't doing anything. Police did what they did. People started throwing water bottles and all that stuff back at the police. I said, let's get the women out of here. We moved the women. And then next thing I know, the police stand to the side and let us go inside the Capitol.
Right. It's like an action it's a reaction to an action that was caused by the officers and not necessarily the other way around, correct?
Exactly.
Okay. Maybe they were bringing Minority Report, and they got that going on in the background. We didn't know.
Could be.
How about you, James? What you
say?
Yeah,
no, what Kash is an overarching theme that happened the whole day. And you really just need to look at the body count to see they were never going to let that be a peaceful protest. And that's why they threw concussion grenades into the crowd that took lives. One guy was hit with a concussion grenade or a flashbang and immediately had a heart attack and died. I saw a guy who had a pepper ball shot through his cheek. So
we was in the same spot then.
I'm sorry? Yeah. I think that was their MO for the day was, they had this narrative that they wanted to get. And, if you have a huge group of people and you shoot them with pepper balls and you're pepper spraying, tear gassing them and literally, so again, you look at 4 people killed that day, and I don't know if you guys want to show it later, but that sucker punch that, of course, Liz Cheney and the J6 committee did not show,
pull that up.
when they showed the initial breach. That happened. This is right at the start of the whole thing. And I think it's really indicative of the attitude that the police had the whole day. That sucker punch could have literally killed me, and it knocked me out before I hit the ground, I was unconscious. So, yeah, no, it was, and I was trying to help. So, yeah, I don't even want me to narrate it.
2 men lead the way to the police officers at the second line.
So that's me at the front.
Well, that's the whole video.
Just got
so,
jail for that.
you want to watch
Yeah, we can go through and just tell us when to stop, and then we'll stop it, and then we can kind of like go through.
Sure, go ahead.
What you said.
After like 3 years. But I'm
Yeah,
here
this
to tell
one-
you why every January 6er needs a pardon and why the government has been lying to you about January 6th.
And this is on James Grant at J6 on X. You can see the whole video.
So let's start with the first thing, the big lie they told that day.
Every one of those who was convicted deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody just went in and broke down doors.
On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died.
So the left and the entire media go crazy for 3 years saying that the January 6ers murdered a guy, except that was a total lie, and he died of natural causes. Oh well.
Pause this for a second. We actually did an episode, a 3-part series on January 6th, when that was a part of it.
No, and that lie that they told in the beginning, I mean, I think that's how they got away with these ridiculous sentences. Had they told the truth from the beginning and said, at the Stop the Steal rally, 4 protesters killed, 2 unarmed women, I don't think the results would have been the same. This fake justification for Brian Sicknick was how they got away with sentencing us to such ridiculous time. Cash, I don't know what you were sentenced with, but 36 months for pushing a fence for me.
It's disgusting. To be honest with you, you think about it when they talk about Sicknick. That ruined the lives of Julian Cater and George Tanyos. Both of them are my brothers. Those are my guys. George is at home right now, but Cater, he's still locked up. Julian's still locked up, man. And they were called murderers. Like, we would joke with them while we were locked up and just talk crap to them like, yeah, that's why you took out a police officer. You're going to get all kind of cred when you go into when you get into prison. You know what I'm saying? But that wasn't true, and it hurt them to be labeled that. You know what I'm saying? Julian was like, I didn't kill anybody. You know what I mean? I wouldn't do that. And it's messed up. And then when they talk about all the police officers that was injured that day, well, some of them was injured by their own police officers. Did y'all forget how they was throwing them flashbangs and tear gas, and they was just throwing them at each other at one point? You know what I'm saying? They don't talk about that. They talk about all the injuries that happened. What about the injuries that happened to the people? How many people were injured by police officers that day that were just standing there? What about the old woman that was standing on the stairs when the police came with the shield and hit her with the shield and she flew back? What about that?
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's my hope that the truth is really ramping up and kind of seeming to come out about January 6th. And, I think we're going to see more of that in the coming weeks. I plan to release some videos, James Grant J6 on X, and that's the last shameless plug I'll do. But no, later on in that video, I get into all and it's about a 6-minute video, so we don't. No, I mean, I got sucker punched right at the start of it, and really, if you just point to the body, I mean, I know I said point to the body count. 4 people were killed that day. An unarmed woman was shot, and I don't know if you guys seem to see the same thing happening too, but it does seem, with that bombshell report that came out with the 26 FBI agents, it does seem like the truth is finally coming out. Finally, I don't know what the tipping point is going to be. I think, I guess it really is predicated on the 2020 election being stolen. So I don't know if Trump has a way to prove that, but I think everyone would agree that would pretty much vindicate all of the J6ers if they were, had been protesting against the stolen election. And it turns out the election indeed was stolen. I mean, I can't think of more of a 180 that would happen for, the insurrectionist, evil, white supremacy. I can't think of a bigger 180 for their reputations to happen than if they were vindicated. I mean, I'm the biggest I told you so of all time. So, I mean, I'm really hoping that's coming. I don't know.
Me and you both, bro. Guys. I need my brothers home, man. I feel you.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And come to think of it, when you're talking about like 2020 and the election and how Trump, he probably is not going to have the ability to figure that part out. But in 2024, he had everything and everybody in the right places. And he knew exactly where they needed to be to at least try to mitigate some of the harm that was happening in our elections. And it doesn't matter whether how big or how small, but either way, if you can catch it, you need to catch it, and you need to eliminate it out of our system.
Yeah. You can't let it go to the courts. Unfortunately, you have to stop it when it starts. You know what the crazy thing about all that stuff, when you guys were talking about like the flashbangs and everything like that, they'll get on people and say like, oh, you can't yell fire in a crowded room, right? Why? Because you'll start a stampede, get everybody to panic. But yet they did that, and that was okay. And they got everybody
and then lied about it.
And then lied about it.
They lied about it. They put in an FBI report that there was no flashbangs or projectiles thrown out into the crowd. And I caught it on video. And Julie Kelly, shout out to Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly was the first person to release the video. And once I sent it to her and people seen that, they were like, what? That was the start, for me anyway, of my knowledge. That was the start of exposing some of the lies that was told. And the only reason I put the video out was because of Ryan Nichols. He said it would help his case. It was in his report, the FBI report, saying that there was no, because he told them they were throwing flashbangs and stuff out into the crowd, and it's excited my PTSD. And they were like, no, he's lying. We didn't put out any flashbangs into the crowd. That's a lie. Capitol Police didn't use flashbangs. So when we put that video out, it totally went against their narrative with proof. So it helped him out with his case. and it started to turn the tide, and then people started getting brave. And I figured the only reason I put the video out is because I'm like, I'm already incarcerated anyway. What they gonna do? Lock me up more for having the video? You know what I'm saying? And then it was just a domino effect. Everybody started releasing footage.
Well, props to you for not, breaking weak and bending the knee, because, my first lawyer was doing everything he could to try to tell me to cooperate and throw Trump under the bus, and I refused to do that. But that's the situation. I was facing 101 years in prison. I mean, these guys, what was your plea deal, Cash? Mine was 89 to 108 months. So I had no choice but to go to trial. But they force you. I mean, you're literally, what was yours?
Mine was a picketing and parading plea.
No, that's not bad.
No, I did. Check this out. I did 36 months on a 51-month sentence.
Okay, yeah. Dang.
But I stayed in DC DOC for a year and a half on a misdemeanor charge.
But Cash, your plea deal originally, like what James was looking at, your charges were actually much larger.
Yeah, my charges were violent entry.
Yeah, it was 120 months at first that they were looking at off just one charge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, it doesn't shock me at all to see the way that they did us. They needed this to happen so they can have, you see what they did with it. They ran with it all the way up until 2023. All the way up until 2023. J6 was only thing you heard about in the news. Violent white supremacists. They're the biggest threat to the country, the biggest threat to democracy. Yet while we was in DC DOC and I was there myself, look, I'm the darkest black or white supremacist that you ever meet in your life, I guess. But I'm in there with all these alleged violent white supremacists and Klan members and all this stuff. And yet the officers, black officers, felt comfortable enough to come into the unit and fall asleep.
No, we were talking before the show, but I know you played back, and when you're in jail, it's about the only thing you have is rec time, which they were not good about. I mean, we didn't get to go outside for it was super rare to go out. I mean, it was basically the whole summer. So you get bruises all over your body. We found rat droppings in the food, but something I really looked forward to was basketball. And I know we both have a mutual acquaintance in Ryan Nichols, who is I think he's in a low right now.
Yeah, he's chilling. He's in Beaumont.
Yeah, better than the medium. He said the medium was really violent.
Yeah.
And just real quick, they know how badly they're screwing people over. These are veterans, law students, nurse. These are everyday Americans that they're throwing into federal penitentiaries, and they know it's not going to go well. And that's the goal. I think they would genuinely kill us if they had the opportunity. So what they're doing to average Americans and have been doing this last 4 years, 8 people, not just the 4 that died that day, 8 people killed themselves because they were facing so much, and not just the media slander. The media has been completely complicit in this. I was acquitted of 5 of 9 charges, and they literally lie, and they said I was found guilty of things I was acquitted of. I've actually had to launch a lawsuit against these media companies, and they just literally,
bad, bro.
It was a plan. They all lied together.
Bro, they put us in solitary confinement. When I got to DC DOC, we was in solitary confinement, bro. 23-1, but we didn't come out of our cells sometimes for 30 to 34 hours. You know what I'm saying? We was locked down, and they did us dirty. Did you go to DC DOC? Was you locked up there?
I did. I spent a year there. My first year was at Northern Neck, which is
that's worse.
Even worse.
I remember Northern Neck. Oh, yeah, I remember Northern Neck. They said, you can't hang your whites here. We only hang the browns. That's what they told us in Northern Neck. You got white towels or white drawers or black towels. I forget how it goes. But you can't. This is what they told me. And this is even black officers told me this. Around here in Northern Neck, Virginia, I tell you what, we don't hang our whites. We hang our browns. I said, whoa, I get it. Gotcha. Understood.
Oh, my God. Well, that took me a second to get, and I just got it.
No, I got it right off the bat.
Wow. Yeah. No, it is the most backwater Virginia hellhole nightmare. I mean, they'll wake you up in the middle of the night because you have your underwear that you have to wash yourself because they don't. I mean, it's bad. It was bad there. You can't have this here. You have to put it in your bit.
But it was still a vacation compared to DC. It was a vacation still compared to DC. DC was. I never want to go back to DC DOC, dog. Ever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because I was in Northern, I thought DC was much better than Northern Neck. But
it was for you when you got there later. We turned the tide on them. When we first got there, it was hell, bro. It was hell. I would have rather been in Northern Neck at that point.
And just being locked up during COVID is its own beast. I mean, because, yeah, like you said, you sit in your cell. And then there's a show called 60 Days In. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that. And if you look at the quarantine episodes where you have to spend 14 days locked in your cell before you can be released in the general population, so like 90% of them tap and quit the show before that because you go crazy. I mean, you literally, I was thrown in solitary in Lewisburg for refusing to cell up with a pedophile. And I mean, that guard was putting me in danger by doing that. They said he had seizures, so I had to cell with him to watch him. And so they threw me in, I didn't refuse. I wrote a note and said, hey, I don't feel comfortable with the liability. My lawyer told me to do it. So I wrote him a note. They dragged me to solitary. I mean, it's torture and it needs to be, I mean, you lose your mind in there.
I've been there with you, bro.
You in a room. And
I've been there with you. Lewisburg, they put me in solitary in Lewisburg too. I feel
and
you.
I remember I heard you shouting because when we got your block was near. I don't know, you probably saw me. So
I did. I seen you out there with Kelly Meggs and Robert and all of that. Yeah, I seen y'all walking.
That's crazy. Yeah, because we were in the pretrial side of it, but we were at the big house. They put these average Americans in the federal maximum security prison, aka Lewisburg, the big house. And that's literally where that name comes from. So yeah, they isn't it amazing what they did to us though? Like
hey, you know what though, bro? We are every January 6th, the way I look at it, brother, especially when you went through all of that, we are the American Phoenix, bro. That's what we are. That's why I want to start that. The American Phoenix.
Like
they tried to burn us down. They tried to burn our lives to the ground. They tried to take everything from us, brother. And here we are rising up from the ashes and we are unscathed. All praise due to God, man. Jesus Christ.
Amen. No, I love that, man. And going back to basketball, because I went on one hell of a weave there. We had a J6 unit, and I know Ryan said you love to play basketball. And I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say I think we got the two best J6 basketball players on the podcast.
You're about to start an argument.
But
I agree. I won't disagree
exclusively. But they were going to give us a chance to play against the other units in DC at one point in 2024, and I was all about it. And it did cause some internal strife from some people within the unit. But, we were all excited. We were going to do a 3-on-3 with myself, David Dempsey, who was later sentenced to 20 years for an assault with
That's my brother, man.
Showed up for work the next day. So how bad was that if they showed up for work the next day? And a deaf J6er, Vitaly Gosjanikowski, who's like 6'4", he's like a beast. I mean, I describe him like a horse. I mean, and he eats like crazy. But so it was us three. We were all ready for 3-on-3, and we've been hyping it up on the Vigil Freedom Corner. And I think someone up top caught wind of it. And Kash will confirm this. They will nip stuff in the butt. And I think, I was hyping it up because it was going to be representing J6, and we were going to win. I know we were going to win. And the guard to take us to rec on Saturday, which they don't let you go out on the weekends, and really they don't let you go out on the weekdays anyways either. But he came in ready to go, ready to take us out, and he's like, guys, sorry, it's above my pay grade. You can't. And they cut it off, and it was really disappointing. We were all ready.
Sucks.
We woke up early because they knew we won. This was going to be a huge story. The J6ers in DC, so they couldn't let it happen. Really disappointing.
You dunked on them.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
It was good times, bro, playing basketball when they did let us go out. We didn't get a whole lot of wreck, but when we did, we hooped, bro. We hooped in those, and I call them the Chomo 3000 shoes. The shoes that they have us wear with the little Velcro strap. That's the Chomo 3000 shoes. And we had to hoop in those, and we hooped so much in them, bro. Literally, I had to buy like 4 or 5 pair of them when I was there. Because the bottoms would come out. They would come straight up off them.
There was 1 week I went through, like, they didn't even last like 2 days.
Yeah. It was fun though. It was fun, and definitely you're right. You and me are probably the two best basketball player J6s that exist.
Well, that's how you know. That's how you know right there that we were ripping the bottoms off from the quick cuts.
I was crossing dudes. They was getting so mad, bro. I almost got in fights. I almost got in a fight with Doodoo McGrew, man. James McGrew. That's my brother. Shout out to James McGrew. Me and Shane Jenkins too is a beast on that court.
Was, like, kind of dirty with it.
He was. Me and him. That's why me and him would get into it. They didn't like when me and him were on teams because I'm a pretty solid guy. You know what I'm saying? And I would blow past people and put that shoulder to him real quick, and it caused a little confrontation a couple times in there. But nobody couldn't stop my jump shot. I'm only 5'8". I'm 5'9" with shoes on. You know what I'm saying? I'm 5'8", and my jump shot is impeccable. You know, I got springs in my legs, bro. You know, maybe it's the black side, but I get up there and just, you know, and they couldn't stop it. So yeah, they would get a little salty at me.
Yeah,
you know what I
definitely
love
made him
about
mad.
this whole thing is like
we
you
couldn't get
can't kill the
haircuts.
human spirit. You just can't. And that's what you guys are talking about right now. And I love this part of this.
Yeah.
So
so we couldn't get haircuts, Cash. You remember that? And so I had like longer than it was now. And someone actually at Northern Neck had called me a Justin Bieber looking MFer. And I kind of Yankee Doodled it. And I kind of became, you know, like the Justin Bieber of January 6th. I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this insult and I'm going to rock it. And so every time.
That was my name all through prison, bro. That's all they called me. My name wasn't Cash in prison. My name was J6. J6. Hey, J6, where you going? They knew I was coming before I even got there.
No, I was Jay. That's what they call me at Northern Neck. I'm glad someone else. Yeah.
And you know what backfired? It backfired on them people, bro. They locked us up. See, they put us in situations where they thought we were gonna break and people was gonna do something to us. Lo and behold, most people in prison love us. Literally, the prisoners.
The DC dudes even.
They loved us.
Yeah, I'll be walking by people in DC. They'd be like, Donald Trump. I remember this one. It was the night I was like, Donald Trump forever. He gonna pardon all y'all.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
But no, when I was playing basketball, I would be popping. I would score on them all day, and I'm pulling up and I'm scoring. Bieber and
all day.
I mean,
you heard Bieber with the pop
afterwards.
Bro, he hit him with the Bieber.
So,
anyways, I know we're
and, I made some people mad. They they hated it. So
yeah, I know.
So guys, I'm curious, like, this is great because I know, James, you talked about before that they took these out of the state's ability to have a federal trial and they put everything in DC. And so ironically, it puts all of you guys in some of the same federal prisons where you actually have an opportunity to commiserate at nighttime, talk between the walls, tell stories a bit, and maybe have a little bit of a camaraderie between one another. Cash, when they arrested you, the story that was written into the police testimony finds you at like one of the lowest points probably of your life.
Yeah.
Because they tell the story like, just shoot me now, like end it. Did you take solace once you were finally put there, having a community of people that you could at least experience this with? I mean, the human spirit's strong within all that.
Let me tell you something. I was nervous. I was really, really nervous at first because I'm like, okay, the news is saying that these dudes, they about to put me in DCDOC with a whole bunch of white supremacists. Now, I don't know. I know that it could be white supremacists there. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking. And I know prison is like that, you know? So I'm like, okay, I don't know how many brothers are going to be there. I know I've seen some brothers that was locked up or that was at the rally. A lot of brothers was there. So maybe it's going to be some more brothers there and it's not going to be just white supremacists. So when I get there, now I'm the only black guy. I'm the only one. It's just me. So I'm like, okay. Now I met Kelly Meggs on the way there. My brother Kelly Meggs. Shout out to Kelly Meggs. He looked back at me in the van. He goes, "Hey, you're J6er?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a J6er." He goes, "Me too. Kelly Meggs, Oath Keeper. Nice to meet you." Like, yo. So me and him hit it off and we started talking. So it made it a little more comfortable for me. And when we got to DCDOC, just talking with the people through the walls, man, and a lot of them knew me. So when I come walking in, like what, for instance, George Tanyos, when he seen me, he goes, "Oh my God." I pull my mask down. He goes, "You're Cash Kelly." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Bro, I love your stuff, bro. I've been following you for forever, bro." And then I'm like, "Yo, I appreciate that." And the same thing, Peter Schwartz. Peter Schwartz, when I come walking up to him, and I thought Peter Schwartz was a white supremacist when I first seen him. He's got the like Harley tattoo and he's got the beard. So I'm racial profiling. I'm like, "Yo, that's a white supremacist look right there." You know what I'm saying? He's got the look. And he goes, "Hey man, come here. I go over there, he goes, "Hey man, I just want you to know, me and my wife, man, we really love your stuff, man. My wife, she's a big fan of yours, man. I just want you to know, brother, I'm here if you need anything." And I'm like, "Yo, this is crazy." I said, "Bro, I appreciate it, man." And I started talking to Shane and then me and Ryan, and then all of us just hit it off. And it's like, the media has lied. I seen brothers cry tears when they seen on the news they were labeling them as a white supremacy organization. The Oath Keepers are not a white supremacy organization. They didn't tell you about the two black dudes that was there with the Oath Keepers that didn't get no charges. And the only reason they didn't get charges is because it'll go against the narrative. It would go against the narrative that the Oath Keepers are a white supremacy organization. So they didn't, put them out. We got George Tanyos in the comments. He's another J6er. That's my bro. You guys go give him a follow. George Tanyos, give him a follow. That's the sandwich Nazi. All right, y'all check him out. The dude is cold. He's cold, and they took everything from him. But yeah, man, people like him and all the other brothers that I met while I was incarcerated made it very comfortable. We started doing a thing called the Hopium Den every Saturday night. We would get together and make Saturday Night Live style skits. And we would just make fun of the COs. Like I would make fun of one of the sergeants. He had googly eyes, Proctor. And the way that they talk in DC, he go, listen to me. I'm the sergeant around this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? That's how he talk. Hey, Slim, I tell you right now, ain't nobody coming in my unit, Slim. This is my unit. I run this motherfucker. I'm like, yo, this dude is intense, but he was dope. He was amazing. He was a great sergeant and really good to us. He didn't treat us with any kind of hate, you know? So shout out to him. And yeah, the community, it felt like I was around my brothers. I was almost sad to leave. Even though it was horrible living there, I was sad to leave the brothers that I grabbed along the way behind. You know, it was like, I'm going off to prison now, and my bros got to be here with this dumb stuff that's going on. There was a whole lot of conflict inside the unit amongst J6ers, because you had some J6ers that was for the people, for the right reasons, and they were standing on real truth, and they were just good men. And then you had the other J6ers that was just like, I want to go viral. I want to raise more money for my Gifts and Go. So I'm going to lie about the conditions inside of DC DOC and make it worse than they actually are. I want to be the face of all of this stuff. I want to be the one that's helping everybody. That was them. There was them, and then there was us. And the us is us, and the them is them. I ain't putting a name to none of this. People already probably know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things I wanted to ask you, Kash. So when I had an opportunity to interview other people, I brought up the fact that there were some camera crews on site that were tied to Nancy Pelosi, and they were outside. And I spoke with Jake Chansley Angelini on the show about a year ago, and I said, Jake, why is it I can find a photo of you alongside her son-in-law? How did you become the face of this entire thing? And why is it when I search for an acting background for you, I find things that you tried acting before? Can you tell me that you weren't a plant? And he denied. He said, no, I've never done acting, even though I have some receipts for that. He denied that was there. He denied that there was a relationship there. But I'm not sure if you guys saw, but I just did this big expose of social media influencers getting paid to all posts as part of these networks. This is a really big thing. The reason why I bring that up in January 6th talk, these groups existed back then that had the ability to set narrative there. Did you see any of that? Have you heard any underpinnings of that?
There's so much stuff that people do not know that we have not talked about. I'm still very big a part of the J6 community, right? And I talk to all my brothers that are still locked up. And the only reason why I'm not saying what I want to say yet is because they're still locked up and pardons haven't been issued. Once pardons get issued and I know my brother's coming home, then I'll blow the whistle on all these dudes, bro. But I'm gonna put it like this. Matter of fact, screw it. Look, check it out. There was people inside DC DOC that were not real patriots, that were not there for the right reasons, that were there because of ulterior motives, whether they were paid to be there or whether they had a ulterior motive to gain some followers or to make their name big, whatever the case is. All of what you think is true. All of it. Were some people put there by Pelosi's family? Yes. Was some people put there by the FBI? Yes. Was some people put there by different politics? Yes. Was some people put there by their own greed? Yes. It's all of that. And it came out to be true while we were locked up in DC DOC and finding out how many people had ties to NPR, how many people did interviews with CNN, how many people had these contacts that were all leftists. And they were willing to publish things about them, and they were putting smear campaigns, like how they tried to smear Timothy Hale. Timothy Hale, they tried to make him like he was basically a Hitler Jr. You know what I'm saying? And he's not. He's a really good dude. They tried to paint him to be a racist. They tried the narrative about the Oath Keepers. They were trying to get information on the Oath Keepers while we were locked up. Some people that were there inside of that pod with us in C2B were there to collect information on other patriots to try to railroad them in their case. It's all there, bro. Some people were that you seen got the violent charges and they were doing all that. They did that with intent. When they first came there and you see them all dressed in black and they got a baseball bat and they got all these gas masks, Patriots didn't show up like that. Regular people didn't show up like that.
No, they didn't.
The people that showed up like that because they were told to. And they had directives that they had to do. And they knew they were going to get locked up. They knew it. They said, prepare, we're going to have to charge you. We're going to have to. And they knew these things. And they went willingly because now they might have a future in politics. They might look like a hero. They might look like the people that will fight for this country when really they just setting you up to have another puppet to tell you what you want to hear and make you feel like they're trustworthy and they're not.
Right. Or maybe
Where's
they
my
were
bill?
facing, 20 years on a different charge. And they said, hey, go cause the problems, instigate at the Capitol, and maybe you'll do a couple years, but we'll let you go when that's over. And, I'm with Kash on that. I'm saving up a lot of the ammo until after pardons, but after pardons, I'm going to be releasing some videos and it's kind of open season at that point. We're all staying in one group for now. I wasn't in it. So when I was first arrested in early 2022, I didn't go to the DC jail. I went to Northern Neck. And so I didn't have this. I did go to the DC jail for a year at one point, but not at that exact time. But I can speak to at the front next to Ray Epps. So I was charged alongside my co-defendants. There was 5 of us that are so-called, accused of starting the Capitol riot. And then it's also the Proud Boys. And then it's whoever's needed to do that, I guess, is the narrative with that. But at the front barrier, I've never met any of my co-defendants. We're allegedly charged together because we pushed the fence at the same time. And the problem with this is that there was about 40 people pushing that same fence. And literally in between my co-defendants and I are people that weren't charged. I faced a century. There's a guy 2 inches to my, and I think literally the people on both sides of me were not charged while I faced 101 years. How is that possible? Literally most of the people pushing that front fence were not charged.
Yeah.
For the very start of the Capitol riot. The first person to push the fence. Oh, if you look on video, it's actually someone over to the left, and you might need a side angle to actually tell, because you can definitively tell in one of the angles it's someone way over on the left. I don't think they've even gotten charged. They picked out 5 people, and I don't know how they've kept it under wraps this long. They picked out 5 people. There's a guy and now there's one guy in blue, like 2 inches to my left. They did just arrest him, but where was he? He's not even wearing a mask or anything. You couldn't find him with AI, phone triangulation. You couldn't find him in 4 years with all of that. So I think they're just charging him now to cover their tail and say, look, we did charge him. Because 4 years went by and the case is already settled now. We went to trial on it. Where was he for this? He did the exact same thing to me as I did at the same moment. And like literally
confidential informants, bro. Confidential informants. And that's as simple as that. You got people that got locked up, right? That were, put it like this, a confidential informant that probably already got charges against them, right? Or trying to get some charges off of them. They're saying, hey, you go to the Capitol and you stir up some stuff, you're going to get locked up. We're not going to give you the time that you were supposed to get for the other charges that we got against you. Matter of fact, we're going to make them go away, and we'll just charge you for these, and you'll do less time than what you would do on this one. So now you're in a situation, you're like, oh, all right, well, fine. I'm going to go do that then. And then they go and do that. That's the kind of stuff that happened on January 6th. That's going to come out. Believe me, it's just a matter of time. It is all going to come out. Just got to hold fast and wait, man. But I'm going to tell everybody to be very cautious of the people that you follow or listen to when it comes to J6. When you got some of these dudes, man, making content while they locked up and calling on all the patriots and Donald Trump this and we gotta stand, we gotta fight and all that. Just be careful on who you follow, because I'm telling you, a lot of these dudes ain't who you think they are.
The grift is strong.
Regardless of the grift, I don't got a problem with anybody making money. I understand. I get it. We rebuilding our lives. I understand if you want to make some money and you're trying to, do your thing, create content, whatever. That's cool. Got no problem with that. You have to be able to make content. I get that. But when you're incarcerated and you're playing this role, and even though when we go look at all the footage, like that's the thing, I've got all the footage. I went back and looked at all this different footage, and you're like, well, hold on, wait a minute. Because when I was locked up with you, I could have swore you said these things. But here you are over here doing these things. How are you the only one that's you're moving around and you got everything that you need and your family's plugged with this family, and you talk about people that didn't get charged? Look at John Sullivan, the one that caught Ashley Babbitt's death. Rest in peace to Ashley Babbitt. Shout out Mama Mickey. But this man was inside the Capitol at the exact spot where Ashley Babbitt got her life taken. Now, what I believe personally for Kash, I believe that he was told to be at that specific location because whoever comes through that window, we need you to record what's going to happen. I believe all of that stuff was planned. I don't believe Ashley Babbitt was part of that plan. She just happened to be the one to fill the role that was necessary. They needed that. They needed all these things to happen. And they caught it on camera. Now, me, I'm a big conspiracy freak. I love conspiracies. I honest to God believe, bro, they set all of that stuff up. All of it. All of it. John Sullivan was at every event that I had went to. John Sullivan was there. And his brother was supposed to be the good one, the good conservative. The good conservative, James Sullivan, and John Sullivan, the bad leftist that's so extreme that even BLM and Antifa wouldn't accept him. He's that radical. Yet he's inside the Capitol at the exact spot, and all the other events that I had went to, this man shows up with Antifa and causes problems, and his brother's always got the camera. Somebody's always recording political violence. And it comes out, oh, their family is tied to the Clintons, and they're adopted. Wow. Both of them are adopted. And even more than that, the man got a rap sheet, which is whatever, everybody does their thing. You got a rap sheet, but you ain't never got no jail time. Then you sell the video to CNN for about 30,000, 75,000, something like that. One of them crazy numbers. And still no charges brought up against you. But you're there at every single point. And then you got the other brother who's the good conservative setting up conservative events. Right. Hey, come out and speak here, guys. Come out over here. We're doing an event, a big event for Trump, pro MAGA. And come out and speak. And then they come out and speak, and then boom, you got all these Black Lives Matter, and Antifa shows up, and then you got the Proud Boys over here on this side because they were hired by the other brother to be around the stage, to secure the stage. Wow. So you're creating some chaos so you can control the situation and get some content. That's what's really going on. But it was a bigger scale than that. When you look at January 6th, all of that stuff was planned. Not the people weren't a part of the plan. It's just whoever's going to be the one to fill that role. It could have been anybody that went through that window. Somebody was going to catch that shot. Yeah. Somebody was going to break that window. They had people there starting to hit the window to break it. Why are you breaking the window? We're patriots. We don't do that. It wasn't a patriot that broke that window. I don't know if y'all watched it. And I'm not trying to disrespect the brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying he wasn't a patriot. We ain't about that. But you broke it. And then somebody went through that window.
And that's why I was trying to point out that, social engineering is something that's very strong. Kash, I want to be respectful of your time. I got to ask you this. For those that are listening to Kash right now going, how does he know this? I looked into your background, Kash. That's what I do anytime I'm about to do an interview. Mm-hmm. And over my shoulder right here, I got Mother Mary. I always like to quote and say that, every saint has a past. Every sinner has a future. Mm-hmm. And you certainly have your own past.
Yes,
you had a gang affiliation, which is public record. People can see that. Mm-hmm. You learn how to spot the people that are not authentic when you're in gang life. 100%. I know that I'm a high school teacher. I teach gang kids, and they're some of the smartest kids for picking up bullshit immediately. And so I know that. So I guess my question for you is this. Knowing how the media, mainstream media has painted you and painted James, what would you like to say to people as far as your path forward now that you've served your time and you're hopeful for pardons and things? Who's Kash Kelly moving forward?
Moving forward, I'm just going to continue to be a dad. I love my country. I have not lost faith in my country. I love the people of this country. Whether you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, we are all countrymen and countrywomen. And at the end of the day, we are all striving to be kingdom citizens. I've been trying to reestablish my faith and my walk with God. That's the thing that's important to me. I give back to the community. That's another thing that's near and dear to my heart. But I would just want everybody in this country, man, to stop the controversy between each other just because of politics. You know what I'm saying? We have to get back to a place where we look at each other as human beings. We look at each other as family. That's the stuff that matters, man. And when you talk about a past, I got a past. Like when I read the Bible, I love Paul, right? I read the Bible, and he said, I'm the chief sinner. You know, I've sinned more than everybody in this world. And I look at my life and the similarities between me and Paul, and it's like my whole life, man, I was born and raised in the streets, bro. And I became a Latin king at a very young age. I was throwing up gang signs before I knew how to walk. And when I learned better, I did better. And it was only because of the grace of God that I'm alive today to even say that I went to prison. In my mind, I should have been dead before I hit 16 years old. I always thought that was going to be my thing. I never thought I would live to be 36 years old. And I feel that God brought me through all these different things in my life, man, just so I'll be able to have that testimony, to be able to say, look, I done been there, bro. I've been a part of the gangs. I've been homeless. I've been hungry. I've been angry. I've been locked up. I've been addicted to drugs. I used to sell drugs. I've done all the things. And God still has me like this, sitting in the palm of his hand saying, look, I got you. And you're never too far from me. You're never too far from me. No matter how far you think you may have fallen in this life, you're never too far from God. All you got to do is say the word and then take the action and start walking. And that's all I'm trying to do, is just start walking, no matter what happens, no matter if I get a pardon or I don't get a pardon, no matter if everything gets taken away from me like they did already, no matter what happens, God got me. And I'm going to say thank you for every breath that I get to take, whether that be in prison, out of prison, at a high point or a low point. Just be thankful to God and look out for people. And remember the prisoners, whether they from J6 or not. Remember the people that are locked up. Hebrews chapter 13. Remember the prisoners. Okay, because there's good men locked up behind the walls that are dealing with the same treatments that we've been dealt. We got treated the same way that these brothers have been getting treated. There's people that are locked up right now to get the worst kind of treatment that you could think of, and they're already paying for their crimes. So don't be so quick to judge somebody just because they committed a crime, man. And you never know who that person can become later. You never know. So that's my ending to you guys. If y'all could follow me on all platforms. On X, I'm Kash Lee Kelly 1. On everywhere else, I'm just Kash Kelly. All right. I appreciate you guys for having me on. AK, thank you so much. I really got to get out of here. James, very nice to meet you. Elizabeth, I love you. And Greg, we got to connect, my brother. I would love to do this again. Thank you guys. God bless y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kash.
Oh man, that guy knows how to rant.
Yo, he almost made me cry, man. I mean, you can't hear people talking about the Bible and redemption and all of that without feeling like you getting choked up inside.
I got goosebumps right now.
Yeah, like I was like, bro, I'm about to start crying. Like, no, but for real, and it's beautiful. Like I was saying before, like it's amazing to hear. Like, you know, we're here, we're talking about all these stories, we're bringing all this stuff to the forefront. There's gonna be more coming out, I'm sure. But hearing these like behind the scenes stories of what you guys were trying to do to keep your spirits up is the most amazing part. I feel like a broken record, but I really think, because we, like he was saying, you guys were saying that we heard so many like terrible stories coming out of like the conditions of what you guys went through. So it's like, how can somebody just like go through that, and how can they get through it? And like all of us are praying for all you guys, and then hearing that you guys were like trying to get basketballs going and like basketball games going and like the SNL thing going. I'm like, yo, this is great. This is beautiful to hear. You know, it's terrible that they're still in there, but I'm glad that that's happening. I'm glad that you guys are taking that initiative.
Yeah, I mean, I really came from, I would kind of say an atheist family, to be honest. I guess agnostic, but maybe agnostic is a better word. But I really, you know, I was searching for Christ, and I really wasn't, you know, a Christian before jail. And I did feel the prayers, because there was one point, and if you're ever in jail, do not ever say you're suicidal. This lady really tricked me into it, because, you know, before going to jail, I don't know. I was looking at 101 years in federal prison. I really don't know if I want to, I mean, just being honest, I don't know if I want to do that. And I don't think that's a suicidal decision. I think that's a rational decision for a lot of people, because that's a really bad fate. And, you know, I was seeing the doctor, and I thought she was asking about the past, but she's like, well, were you suicidal? And she said it like past tense. And I was like, yeah, well, I mean, I guess. And she goes, one for suicide. Well, they put you in a smock. And this jail was at the very front of the jail. It was like the observation room. So there's like glass, and everyone getting arrested and taken in, booked in, can like see you. It's you in just a concrete cell. You don't get a mat. You have to sleep on the concrete. You're in just a green smock. Like if you see anyone in court in just that green, it is so cold in jails. I'm freezing. There's no toilet in there. There's actually just a grate. They said, just let us know if you have to go number 2. Thankfully, in the 4 days I was there, I did not have to go number 2. So, I don't know if it's weird, but yeah, I would be pacing the cell like a madman. And I just remember lying on the ground on my stomach, looking at the wall. And this is right at the start of the whole thing, of my prison term in early 2022, January of 2022. And I'm just like looking at the wall, a concrete, ugly wall. And I'm like, I can't do 4 years of this. I can't do this. And I don't know, something just hit me at that moment. And I just felt like I had to survive for other people. And words kind of rang in my head. And, I said, dang, the prayers of everyone are with me right now, though I can't. And it's kind of stupid, but I kind of started walking around. I was like singing patriotic songs and stupid stuff. But I say I look stupid because I probably looked like a maniac walking around in the smock, circling the cell to try to tire myself out so I could sleep because the ground was so uncomfortable and was so cold. That was just, I don't even like thinking about it because I feel like I might somehow get transported back to it and like be stuck in that. I was watching the clock and like, okay, that's another minute. And I'm hoping they can clear me off suicide watch, but the doctor has to do that. And the doctor never showed. I got transported out of that jail after 4 days before a doctor ever saw me. That was such was COVID restrictions. It was a nightmare being locked up during that. Throughout jail, but as I was leaving, so when I didn't even get cleared, I was leaving to go to a different facility, to Northern Neck, which I did not know how bad it was about to get. There was a pamphlet on the counter, like at the booking area, and it said a quote from the book. It said, "You will be tested," and then it said James from the book of James, but it said, "You will be tested, James," and it was like that blew my mind. I thought it was the coolest thing, and I was telling the guard, "You said my name's James." They didn't care at all. But like I thought it was cool. It meant a lot to me. But they didn't. But yeah, oh my gosh! And they put me in the dog kennel, which is like a dark van on the way to the next facility. But I was like glowing the whole way there. I was like, that's crazy. I asked if I could take it. I took it. I'm sure it's lost somewhere, but that'd be really cool if I had it. But yeah, no. So I found God in jail, and it was, yeah, like you said, Elizabeth, a lot of good can come out of it. Jail's amazing like that. And some of the story, everything is so significant, and authentic. There's a lot that comes out of jail that is just really incredible. Yeah.
Well, these are stories that you normally don't get to hear from people. Sometimes they bottle those things up, and once they get out, they don't talk about it. They don't like to express their feelings or whatnot. But this is a time of healing right now, especially for our country, and especially for the things that happened over the last couple of years, and hell, even for the last 50 years. And how we've had these monumental changes in our institutions and stuff, which kind of created this bubbling up underneath that caused. I'm not saying it's the only thing that caused it, but there are definitely things that have happened over the last couple of decades that kind of boiled over in the last 8 years.
Very true.
At least.
Very true. Very
Absolutely. True. And I know we're kind of running up against it here, but there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about tonight, and I don't know if you've heard about it, but this is from the leading report about the J6 prisoners that went onto a $50 billion class action lawsuit. Do you know anything about that?
So there's actually a couple class actions out. I would encourage people, and the one I've chosen to sign up for is not that one. It is wearej6.com, and it's ran by John Strand, Brandon Straka, Dr. Simone Gold, and a few other. It's Derek Evans. So we actually just had a meeting today. wearej6.com. So I would just encourage any J6er to choose carefully. All the J6ers I know have joined that one, and what they've taken from us, we can really never get back. I celebrated 3 birthdays in jail, so they suck in jail really bad. One of them, January 7th, 2 days after the first birthday I spent in jail, was when I was informed that my plea deal was 89 to 108 months. And that I still say that one, even having, because I had to turn myself in on January 6th of 2022, ironically, but I think they chose that date on purpose. But July 7th is the worst day of my life when I got that news. And I just remember I was in Northern Neck jail, and this is the lawyer that wouldn't answer my phone. He didn't answer my phone calls. Like, I called him, I think 40 or 50 times from jail, facing 101 years. He doesn't answer any of my phone calls, not one. Now, I don't know if that was, I'm sure it was by design. I eventually had to ask the judge for a new lawyer, and I did get one. And that was my third one. This was the representation I was being given. But, that was I just remember going back to the unit, and, it's funny because in jail, when you leave the unit, everyone already is like suspicious that you're snitching. That's a huge part of jail. So even going down to get medicine, it's like, oh, what'd you get? Like, they're asking, but they're not at, they're where were you? And, it's crazy because there was one guy who was a known snitch, and I guess he talked to someone and came back like it's smelling like female perfume, because you get almost nose blind to the bad smell because it smells bad. But any new smell, like hand sanitizer, and especially at Northern Neck where no one can afford soap, a little bar of soap is like $2.50. You can only spend so much, and you're literally starving there, that you have to make serious decisions, and you gotta make that one bar of soap and one toilet paper roll last the whole week. You will not get another. Northern Neck, I disagree with Kash. I think Northern Neck is a million times worse than DC, and that is the prevailing opinion. But Northern Neck was so bad, and yeah, I remember being there and getting that news, and I was so crushed. But yeah, no, I really feel like I need to write a book because there's so much craziness and stuff to get into. And, in the federal system, too, is just so much crazier than state also. And I went to 3 different unique places. And, like I said, Lewisburg, Cash Kelly was, before I even met him, I lived like 100 feet away from the guy in Lewisburg in the federal prison. So that's kind of funny, too. But definitely an experience.
And now you guys are all one big happy family.
Yeah, I like to think so. Some fighting, but... Yeah. Well, it'll work itself out.
It will.
James, I have a little bit different question I asked Kash at the end. I want to know, since getting out, how has this changed your life from employment, from opportunities moving forward? What have the ramifications been from having all this?
Well, yeah, it's been drastic. I was 28 when I went there. I'm 32 now. I no longer have a law school scholarship, I assume. I haven't begun the process to contact him again. I was able to sneak a job actually knocking doors for President Trump. They needed people, I guess, and I guess they didn't do the background check, so I was able to get that job. And it was so late in the game. I guess
they heard you were loyal.
They needed more people. Yeah, right. So, yeah, so I worked like 12-hour days, and I was knocking doors for President Trump down here in North Carolina. And actually, one guy that answered the door was like, "Yeah, I don't know if you're old enough to be voting, but don't vote for someone who spawned a coup. Don't vote for a couper." And I didn't tell him I was right at the front on January 6th. I kind of wish I had now. But I don't want to lose the job.
Can you imagine that?
He calls me in or anything. But yeah, it was. I learned that if the person didn't answer the door, you can try. They tell you to try to talk to the Democrat, but probably don't. It never ended well, not once. But the worst I got was you hear some. That was probably the worst I got. But it never goes well when you talk to a Democrat. This was a very contentious election, but it's changed my life completely. And, moving forward, unlike Kash, I would say my life is completely dependent on this pardon. Law schools, you have to explain. I had one misdemeanor before. You have to explain that in the law school application. So they take all that super seriously. My life is really dependent on this pardon. And, so I absolutely have to have it if I want to go back to law school. I'm not sure how to proceed without it. I'm not really planning for not getting it. So I actually wrote President Trump on Friday again. I wrote him from jail also, but going forward, I want to go back to law school, and it's always been my dream. And boy, it would be awesome if I could do it. And I don't know if I'm praying I can, but moving forward, that's my goal.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, Greg, did you have any other questions before we close out here?
I would love to talk to James and Kash for a couple hours because honestly, we didn't even get into stuff inside the Capitol building that day, things that we're seeing, stories. we could do like hours upon hours, but in respecting everybody's time, and so you don't wind up having an anthology by the end of tonight, I will abide my questions.
Beautiful. Biddy, what about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I like, I'm more of like, I mean, I guess it's because I'm a female, but I'm more of like into like the emotion part of all of it. So you guys really delivered on that. I mean, Kash is not here anymore, but like just hearing all of that was like beautiful for me. I did hear one thing. I don't even know if we have time to like flesh it out, but like a pardon of innocence. That was something on Kash's timeline that I didn't even know it was a thing. And apparently it not only pardons you, but it kind of takes away that admission of guilt. You know, so I was wondering if that's something that you guys were thinking about, you know, doing.
Right. I just really am worried of a commutation, which, you know, it ends the sentence, I guess, but I really, you know, I'm not even putting that out there. I don't want that. Yeah, there's 3 levels of pardons. I think pardon of mercy is the lowest one, and that's like, you did it, but there were, you know, I'm going to let you off. Then there's the second level. I don't know what it's called, but it's like some circumstances were unfair, the second level. And then, yeah, an unconditional pardon of innocence, which is the best one and the one I'm hoping that I'm getting. And, you know, actually, yeah, it's a good point, Elizabeth, because I think applying for law schools are going to that might actually make a difference. And a pardon of innocence might be the best. And I pushed the fence. I didn't assault with a deadly weapon. The officers were actually asked, was a weapon used by the FBI agent investigating the case? And they both said no. So, I mean, I was innocent of the charge. And the charge is that I faced. So I don't think it would be even incorrect. So yeah, I mean, there is a difference, and yeah, I definitely want to get the unconditional pardon of innocence going forward.
Absolutely. You know, and it's funny because when you were talking about earlier about pushing a fence and, you know, getting X amount of years for that. When I did my 3-part series back then, that's what I was trying to get to. There were certain parts where there were officers just opening the fence and letting people walk in. I'm not exactly sure where that happened on the property, but I mean, you talk about that. You talk about the officers that were allowing people in, and we didn't even know that until who was it that broke that story? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank right now. How am I forgetting his name?
Yeah, me too.
From Fox.
Tucker.
My God.
Oh, yeah. Was it Tucker?
Sorry,
oh, wow.
Old man brain.
Yeah. Please don't come.
Fired him from Fox in the middle of that. I don't know if you guys remember, but no, you couldn't even talk about that. I remember telling my lawyer, I said, Rob, these guys are doing the same thing as me at the same exact time. How are they not charged? And all this falls on, I mean, it fell on deaf ears. And he was a good lawyer. I mean, we beat most of the charges, but, you know, in D.C., and I think he was right from a legal standpoint. You got to know your audience. You know, you're in D.C., they're not going to care. And I had to opt for a bench trial where the judge decided I didn't have a jury. Because you can't have a jury. I watched how it went for everyone else, and there's no chance. Any charges that they would have put before you, you know, you're going to lose on. So, you know, forced into that. A 93% Democrat venue. I mean, you know, we know what it was. They had, and that's why they kept it in D.C. And that's you know, that's what Greg was talking about. It's why they dragged us all to D.C. across the country. You know, if you're getting charged in Texas, you might, besides juries, you know, the judges, and there's so many people, you know, it's not just the judges and juries too, the lawyers that represent you. I had horrible experience with lawyers that, you know, and the probation officer that writes your pre-sentence report, you know, that mine wrote that I stormed the halls. I went inside and I took 2 selfies, walked around and left. She wrote that I stormed the halls. So, you know, getting real like a writer with the adjectives, like, come on. Yeah, we should not have been charged in DC. You know, and really like one of these things you would think would like acquit everyone, like hiding evidence. If you hear of a regular criminal case and they hide evidence from, isn't that like case dismissed? Like one of these things, if there was like, you know, instigate feds, wouldn't that be like case dismissed? Like one of these things would that be entrapment, case dismissed?
Well,
there's like 80 of these for January 6th. I mean, dismiss every case. Like, am I wrong? Like,
no, James, what they ended up doing was they put the worst case scenario in front of you, showed you that it could be prosecuted, and then said, oh, by the way, if you say that you're guilty, then we'll plead this down to 4 years in prison. Doesn't that sound a lot better than 101? Who the hell's not going to say, I'm guilty? Because you know the alternative is you're in jail for life versus I might get out. I mean, it's an entrapment by the law. And I believe that there's people that constitutionally will be able to fight this for you. I had this gentleman on my show, and I told AK about him. And I'd like to get him on with AK and myself again. He wasn't with AK before, but between us, John Pierce. Did you know anybody who was represented by him?
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's represented over 20, a lawyer for some very, very big names. I think that will be a person to get in touch with. I know that he helped out Rudy Giuliani, George Papadopoulos, Tulsi Gabbard, Kyle Rittenhouse. That was all in his wheelhouse. But he's really been helping people from January 6th. So John M. Pierce. And if anybody else is, listening that was involved on January 6th, that's tuned in, that is a good person, awesome man. He's on the X platform. Reach out to him. Tell him that I sent you.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll do. I had to hire a North Carolina firm to sue the media companies I'm suing. I think the number's up to 5 right now because so many of them have just printed lies about me. So I'm looking to sue the media, and I've already, retained them. And I'm well on my way there, so I'm really hoping to make them pay because they stole my chance to tell I was acquitted of most charges at a federal trial. That's super rare. It's a big account, and they just completely lied. And I think it was a proactive lie to just tell my story poorly and deal with the fallout later if there is fallout for them. But I'm going to make sure there is, and I'm going to sue the hell out of them. So hope I win.
Absolutely, James Grant. Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Also with Kash Kelly, I know that he had to jump out. He had other commitments, but that's fine. We had a bunch of fun here. We had a bunch of fun here tonight.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your time. I appreciate your courage, your heart, and everything that you've shown in the last 4 years. This is not the first time you talked to me. It's probably not going to be the last. So
I hope so. Thanks for having me. Yeah. James Grant J6. GiveSendGo.com/fake news if anyone wants to help out with that lawsuit. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's been great, brother.
Absolutely. And then don't forget that tomorrow we've got Adam Johnson on, the lectern leader. He's going to be on with us for the second part of this series. So don't miss out from Roma Nation. That is Greg Bolden. That's Elizabeth there. James Grant. I'm AK signing out. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. All right. Peace.